look at what's happening on the G20 front, and the third G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting under the Indian presidency was held during 17 and 18 July of this year in Gandhinagar, attended by finance ministers and central bank heads of G20 member nations, and this including the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Chinese Finance Minister. Now, the diverse topics of discussions range from economic development to debt distressing. Let's listen into the key takeaways from this meeting, coming in herself from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman.
Members appreciated the significant progress made in respect to the two-pillar international taxation package. Members also welcomed a plan for additional support and technical assistance for developing countries and discussed the need to ensure that G20 efforts to enhance tax transparency translate into effective outcomes. There was, of course, a high-level tax symposium on combating tax evasion, corruption, money laundering, and so on. The panelists were also from FATF, OECD, and the European Commission for Economy and Finance Minister of Indonesia. Each one, of course, had a lot of pith and substance in the discussion. There were also very intense discussions on global debt vulnerabilities, which is a significant priority area. It reflected a lot of India's presidency's endeavor to get the voice of the global south onto the table of the G20. So this topic attaining a lot of traction, discussion, concern, and voicing of opinions on how to get over some vexed issues, like delays in giving assistance to those distressed countries and so on. So that issue also gained a lot of traction, and I think specifics have been discussed, which was very encouraging. And therefore, the G20 members welcomed the progress achieved on various ongoing debt treatment cases. Between February and today, we know that very many countries whose treatment under the framework and those at least one outside of the framework have all been addressed, and therefore there was an overall sense of welcome on the progress achieved on the ongoing debt treatment cases. Also, the G20, under this topic of global debt vulnerabilities, the G20 encouraged the efforts of the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable. This roundtable is chaired by India, IMF, and the World Bank. So the G20 actually encouraged the efforts of the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable towards strengthening communication among stakeholders and to facilitate effective debt treatment. So that roundtable has received a lot of encouraging words from the members. Add to the basket of issues on which discussions on debt restructuring will be happening. It's happening now, it will continue to happen, it will happen later. So it is not as if today you have arrived at just the haircut element of it and the others are going to go on. All these issues are part of the round table which IMF and World Bank together with India are discussing, and these are issues on which the stakeholders have been talking, inclusive of the private stakeholders.